Everybody, thank you so much for joining my webinar today. My name is Erica. I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera on just for a couple minutes to introduce myself. Again, thank you all so much for hopping into this webinar today. I'm expecting it to take probably around just 30 minutes or so, give or take a little bit. And then at the end, I'm actually going to save time to do a question and answer so we can take you all off mute, kind of talk through those questions that you have. This is also being recorded. So right after this meeting ends, I'm going to send you all a follow-up email with the recorded meeting so you can watch it again. If you have to drop off halfway, that's perfectly fine too. You can also share the recording with anybody else in your organization who you think this might be helpful for. So again, my name is Erica. Thanks so much for joining, and let's go ahead and get started. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to turn my camera off for the duration of the webinar just to make sure that we can have a really good connection for the screen share and whatnot. But with that being said, let's go ahead and dive in here. So you all should, somebody said, let's see, the audio isn't working. Thank you for letting me know. Is anybody else on this webinar having trouble hearing me? Alex, I do see your comment. Does somebody else mind dropping in? So what's going on is you guys should be able to hear me. However, you shouldn't be able to use your audio right now because you guys are all muted by default. Okay, Frankie. All right, perfect. Thank you all for letting me know. Alex, again, just to kind of repeat that, you guys are actually all muted by default. And then at the end, when we do the Q&A, that's when I'll be able to actually take you off mute and I'll be able to communicate. So hopefully that kind of clears the air. All right, let me go ahead and I will pull up the screen share again. Okay, perfect. So the title of this webinar today is Hyperfocus, Turning a Liability into a Superpower. And this webinar is specifically designed for priority matrix users who have ADHD. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a backstory of how I actually came to doing this webinar. And it's kind of an interesting story. So let's go ahead and get started. So first off, I want to start by defining what is hyperfocusing. And this is defined as a clinical phenomenon of locking on to a task in patients with ADHD who have difficulty of shifting their attention from one subject to another, especially if the subject is about their interests. So when it comes to having a productive workday, you can kind of imagine that if you feel like you are, hyper focused on something, however, you're locked onto a task that's a distraction or it's not something that's, helping you be productive in your workday, that can definitely cause a challenge for you. And with Priority Matrix, one of our biggest goals is to help people understand their priorities and understand what needs to get done first by providing less distractions for them to kind of focus on, really what needs to get done. And again, cut out the distractions that may come into place when you're jumping from different platforms, checking your emails, checking, things out online. We want to cut out those distractions so you can hyper focus on what's really important. Again, turning what some people may feel is a liability into a real superpower so you can actually get more done than, other people may be able to do. So how did we land on this topic? It may feel, kind of random actually that Priority Matrix is focusing so closely on ADHD users, but to give you a little bit of backstory. So over the past couple of years, Priority Matrix has been voted across several different platforms, different resources online, #1 application for adults with ADHD. And, just kind of right off the bat, Priority Matrix is a project and task management software that helps people really prioritize and see what they need to get done. So again, for those people who may have trouble focusing or have a hard time, working on what matters the most, Priority Matrix can be super helpful for that. So over the last couple of months, we've really put a lot in place to actually kind of dig through this and understand why is Priority Matrix helpful for people with ADHD and how do we really help them? So Pablo, who's actually our CTO, has been working really closely with people in roles such as therapists, directors, marketing leaders, and other inspirational people who were actually available to connect with him one on one, and they all personally deal with ADHD on a day to day basis. So, Pablo had asked them a series of interview questions, ranging from how they chose their career path to what it's like working in a corporate environment with ADHD and how are they most productive with that day to day work routine. I think he hosted, it's probably, upwards of 5 to 6 interviews at this point, and they're all super interesting topics. And I will actually share those interviews with all of you. I'll send a follow up email out to you because it's actually really interesting to kind of dig in there and learn more about their tips and tricks. But, most importantly, reading through all of these interviews that Pablo conducted, I was able to collect some tips from these professionals on how they can really make it through a day and be productive. So, by piecing that information together, I was able to create this presentation, which will hopefully resonate with all of you today. And again, just make it easier for you to get through your day to day and ultimately be more productive. So, first and foremost, what did we learn from conducting these interviews, again, with these people who struggle with ADHD on a day to day basis? So, tips for a productive workday. Number one, a consensus was set aside your most productive hours to focus on high impact tasks. So, for me personally, I would say, hours at 7 a.m. to 10 or 11, they're definitely not my most productive hours, just personally speaking. In the afternoon, from about 1 to 3, I would say that's personally when I am able to focus the most and get those big ticket items done. So that is when I like to set aside, time to work on those really high impact tasks. The morning hours are when, you can work on kind of the smaller tasks, or if you're kind of flip-flopped from myself, maybe you work on the big project and high ticket items in the morning and save the smaller things till the end of the day. Number two, for having a productive workday, people found that it really helps to stick to a daily routine. An example of that would be at the start of the day, writing down top 3 priorities or goals and review them at the end of the day to make sure that you were able to get those done. So that could be your first step in the daily routine. Is going into your priority matrix and typing out 3 priorities and goals that you need to get done. And number 3 is take control and make your own daily rules. With this day and age, it's honestly so incredible that people are able to work from home and, work remote and kind of make their own daily routine. Maybe they like to work out in the morning or, take their dogs out or spend some family time in the morning and then get around to working a couple hours into the day. Whatever it might be and whatever helps you focus the most throughout the day, we want to support you and we want to encourage you to kind of make that own daily routine. And again, being in a corporate environment can make it a little bit tougher, right? If you have to go into the office at a certain time. But actually, in these interviews, those professionals we were able to connect with actually share pointers as well as to how you can still kind of control your day and make that daily routine even when you're in the office every single day. Another thing that I was able to understand from reading through all these different interviews that we conducted is understanding your prioritization style. So, again, circling back to something that I briefly just touched on, which is, when are you the most productive? The most common approach to this is starting the day with something small and light. Maybe it's emails, just quick tasks that you can kind of check off your to do list, and then use this momentum to tackle the larger tasks. The consensus was that this is the most common prioritization style. And personally, this is what resonates with me and how I kind of go about my day to day. The second understanding was that some people actually like to start with the largest, biggest task, making sure you get this done right off the bat so you can, rest assured that every single day you're getting something important done each day. And then you would say the smaller task for the end of the day when you kind of start to trail off and maybe become a little bit more distracted. This, from our understanding of these interviews, was not as common, but again, still a way that people like to prioritize and structure their day. So hopefully for all of you on this webinar today, when you look at this, you're either like, hey, the first one is definitely me, or the second one is definitely me, because that's going to kind of help you bridge the gap into having a more productive day today. So with all that being said, how has Priority Matrix really helped our ADHD users, and why is it becoming such a popular application with this crowd? Number one, Priority Matrix utilizes kind of a layout of 4 quadrants. And what these quadrants allow you to do is very easily highlight your top priorities. So when it comes to getting started in the day and when you're really able to focus on what to get done, that focus is put towards working on the top priorities and setting aside other distractions. The priority matrix reminders with deadlines is actually really helpful to make sure you can kind of stay on task. You're able to set deadlines and reminders recurring if needed for every single task. So if you're like feeling that you're a little bit off track or you're worried about forgetting about something, Priority Matrix has your back there, because when you set these reminders and deadlines, you're definitely not going to forget about anything you need to get done. I also have in parentheses, you can mute these when needed. With all this being said, it's definitely very critical to be able to have some quiet time. We don't always need pop-ups onto our screen or emails coming through. So I'm going to show you how you can actually mute these email notifications when you need to do that. And lastly, Priority Matrix helps you focus on what you need to get done by switching context less often so you can stay focused in one place. I know for me, when I'm working in Priority Matrix, I'm incredibly focused. However, the second my phone goes off or an email comes in or something pops up on my screen, it's like, okay, here's a distraction that I go to my email and then maybe I start browsing through it when that's not really what I need to get done. By getting everything into just one place, you're able to focus a lot better. And, all those distractions that come with switching context can hopefully kind of be put to the side. Another tip that these professionals that we were able to connect with shared is time boxing, which is a technique that a lot of people find to be super helpful. Keeping in mind, though, it's definitely not going to be the solution for every single project or task you work on, but at the right place and time, it can definitely be super helpful. The idea of this is to plan 15 to 25 minutes of focus and then take 5 to 10-minute breaks between focus time. And what do these breaks look like? Not being on your phone or scrolling through social media. What I like to do is maybe step outside, get some fresh air, walk around the house, stretch out a little bit, maybe get some water, make some tea or coffee. Keep your mind in the game, hopefully continuing to think about what you're working on in kind of a light aspect, and then get back to work after 5 to 10 minutes. With Priority Matrix, it's very easy to kind of schedule this out. We do have an integrated calendar, so it is super easy to kind of block off time and help you stay on pace with this, and that's something that we'll look at today. All right, so this is just kind of a brief overview of what we're about to look at in the Priority Matrix demo. So I'm going to show you how you can use our quadrants for task prioritization. I'm going to show you a couple strategies for setting your daily goals, making sure it's easy to complete them through Priority Matrix. I'm going to show you how you can plan your day based off of your most productive hours. And then we're also going to take a look at managing notifications and reminders. So thank you all for sticking with me until now. This is the good part where we actually get to take a look at the application. And again, as your questions come up, jot those down. And then at the end, we'll be able to communicate and I can definitely answer all these for you. All right, so what do I have on my screen here? This is my priority matrix and I have it integrated directly into my Teams platform. So one of the things that I was really harping on previously is switching context less often so you can stay more focused. So for those of you who work in the Microsoft Teams environment every single day, add Priority Matrix in there, and no doubt this is going to make it easier for you to stay focused. For those of you who aren't quite in the Teams environment yet, you can definitely download the desktop application or use the web app at prioritymatrix.com. They're all going to be very similar. So to kind of give you a general understanding of the layout of priority matrix, I can assume that a lot of you on this meeting today might actually be brand new and you might not be familiar with how the system kind of works. So let's look at that, and then we will focus back in on, specific tips for using this on a day-to-day basis. So the general structure of priority matrix is based off of projects. And these projects are here to help give you a space to group similar priorities together. So for me, as a salesperson and a customer success manager, a lot of my projects revolve around clients that I'm working with and tickets and emails that come in. So that's what my projects look like. Depending on your role in the organization, your projects are going to look a little bit different, and that's definitely okay. I think we have 90 templates at this point, which you can actually import into your priority matrix to help you get started. This weekly to-do list template is actually something that I imported. Again, we have those just to help you get started. So if you're not sure what projects to create, utilize the templates for sure, and it's really going to help. So something that I had talked about previously in this webinar is a tip for being successful with ADHD, which is creating your daily goals. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this project, and we'll use this as the example. So this is kind of checking off 2 tips that I wanted to share with you at the same time, which number 1 is using the quadrants to support your needs, support you in the way that you like to prioritize your goals and action items for the day. When you create a new project, the quadrants are going to read do now, do later, delegate, and postpone. For this specific project, I actually suggest renaming your quadrants. So you can do that on the right-hand side just by highlighting it and renaming it. So I'll give you just a little modification here just so you can see how easy it is. I added the option for notes in the bottom right corner. So again, that's going to be the kind of the best practice number 1, utilizing the quadrant. So at a quick glance, you can see what you need to get done today, high priority, and what's a lower priority. With that being said, this project is structured with the idea of setting your daily goals. So here are today's goals, and here's the completed goals. In Priority Matrix, you can really easily move your tasks around. And you can also actually check them off if they are a distraction and you no longer want these older goals on your screen. You can definitely do that. The structure that I've been working with and suggesting to people is for a week straight, just bump those old goals over to the right-hand side. So they are still on your screen. And what's cool about this is it can kind of give you the confidence to know, hey, every single day I'm completing these 3 goals. It'll give you that, kind of reminder that you are being successful, and you can go back and continue to remind yourself what you've completed for the week, and then go through and check all those off and kind of start fresh. Again, that's just kind of my take on it, how I've seen it be super successful. Play around with it and find the way that works best for you. But the way that this works is now for today, I can look at this, and whether it's the start of the day when I want to start with these smaller goals or the end of the day, again, depending on how my productivity looks on a daily basis, now I can go here and understand these are the goals that I need to get done for today. All right, so that again is kind of the first 2 tips and tricks I want to share. Use the quadrants to prioritize, and then use these projects or one specific project to make sure you can set your daily goals. Let's see, it looks like maybe I'm missing a project here. Okay, perfect. So here's the other one that I wanted to show you, which is giving you the opportunity to actually block off your day. So this would be a different project that I would definitely suggest creating, which I've called in this case my working hours, in parentheses, productive time slots. So what you can do here is, again, you can rename the quadrants to really help you understand what you need to be working on in your productive hours and what you need to be working on for the less productive time, working on those smaller tasks. In the top right corner, you'll see that there's actually a place to view your calendar on a project basis. So when I click on this, what's happening is now I can actually see this time blocked off on my calendar. And if I switch it to my day view, now we're really zoomed in and I can see, okay, from 8 to 10, this is when I should be working on my, high ticket, high priority, longer tasks. And then in the afternoon, these are the smaller tasks. This is a very broad example, but what you all can actually do is you can say, okay, from 8 to 10, I'm going to be working on X, Y, and Z, and you can actually list those out. Same for the afternoon, or again, flip flopping it depending on when you want to work on your different priorities. So, this is going back to the idea of time blocking. Again, really easily helping you visually understand what you need to be working on and when in alignment with when you are the most productive. So another thing that I promised that we would look at is how priority matrix really actually helps you stay on task when maybe you're feeling distracted and you're not quite sure what you need to get done. The agenda view in priority matrix is going to show you today and the next 7 days of all of your upcoming deadlines and what you need to get done. So once you start to use priority matrix more heavily and you expand it from just your daily goals to, integrating emails, putting all of your priorities into this one central space, agenda is going to help you understand, again, everything you need to get done today and the next 7 days. So if you're ever feeling like you're going down a wormhole, focusing on the wrong thing, I can totally relate to this. Jump to your agenda, put yourself back on track, and rest assured that you're not forgetting about anything. You don't need to worry or stress that something's slipping through the cracks, because as long as it's in your priority matrix, you're going to see it right here and you're not going to forget about it. In terms of alerts, the notifications that you set for yourself, such as deadlines and reminders, and down the line, if you start using this as a team collaboration tool as well, all of those alerts are going to come to actually the alert section right here. So these are examples of items that have become overdue. Maybe they have new updates from my teammates. This is a really great space to go to if you want to see, what maybe became overdue when you were not online, looking at your priority matrix. You're also going to be getting email reminders and notifications by default. And this is what I was talking about when I said you may want to mute them so those distractions are not, kind of in your face when you're really trying to focus. So I just brought my webpage onto the screen, which you can see. This is affluence.com/accounts/unsubscribe. If anybody's interested in this, let me know. I can send you the link to this, or you can just find it under your accounts page. But essentially, this is where you can manage your email preferences. So if you're feeling really overwhelmed and not wanting to get these updates into your inbox, just turn them off. Maybe you just want to turn it off for the afternoon and then take them back on. That's definitely doable. You can modify these as many times as you would like. All right, so I think that does cover the handful of tips and tricks that I wanted to share with you all to, again, help you stay focused. And not only that, but focused on things that you personally need to get done every single day. So I'm going to jump back to my PowerPoint here, turn this on, and then next up, we'll actually do the Q&A. But a couple key takeaways here. So with Priority Matrix, we want to help you see everything in one place. And what this will allow you to do is have less distractions. Less context switching means more focus. When you set your daily goals and you prioritize them, you can rest assured that you're working on what really matters. And also, everybody loves to get things done that they said they would do. So ticking that box to complete it or bumping it to quadrant 2, it's a great feeling. I love to do it every single day. And it's a great way to start and end your workday. Lastly, like we talked about, using your most productive hours to work on what really matters the most, and let Priority Matrix help you schedule this. Maybe you do this after your daily goal setting, or maybe you do this at the end of the day and say, okay, tomorrow from my most productive hours, I'm going to work on X, Y, and Z. And during my more distracted times, here's the task that we need to work on. As long as you put that into your Priority Matrix, If you're ever feeling off task or just need a little bit of help focusing on what you need to work on, this is going to be reliable and it will be your go-to to really help you stay on track. So with all of this being said, I'm going to stop sharing my screen just for a moment here. I would like to take the opportunity to, ask you guys if you have any questions. So what you can do is you can actually use the little hand raising emoji at the top of this meeting. And from there, once I see your hand come up, I will give you the opportunity to take yourself off mute, and I can actually answer those for you. Alternatively, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can actually drop your question into the chat box and we can kind of go from there. I'll give you guys a minute to think about that. While you all may be thinking about your questions and kind of deciding what you'd like to ask, I'm going to do another quick screen share and kind of go over some common questions, but I'm also going to keep an eye on the right-hand side in case something comes up and you all might have a question. So the first common question I get is, can I test out priority matrix before I commit to it? Absolutely. We never want anybody to commit to priority matrix before they feel entirely comfortable and ready to move forward. We're going to offer you a free 2-week trial to, really get in there and get your feet wet and test everything out on the platform. Once this trial ends, you're going to have a couple of licensing options starting at just $5 per user per month and going up from there to our business and our enterprise style license. In terms of support, this is just one of several webinars that I've done this month. And I also have a bunch of upcoming webinars as well. So these are really fun. Again, you can register for them and just watch the recorded meeting afterwards, or you can attend live like you're doing today. We also have a really well built out YouTube channel with more resources. And for our business and enterprise style licenses, we actually offer one-on-one and team training sessions as well. What we looked at today was very much focused on personal success and, helping you be successful on a day-to-day basis for your own tasks. However, I briefly mentioned that Priority Matrix also supports you in a team collaboration aspect as well. So if you feel like you need a way to better work with your teammates or with your management, shoot me an email. I would love to kind of help you understand what this looks like on a team aspect as well. Let's see. It looks like we have a question. Can you link website to certain daily tasks? Example, yeah, absolutely. So when you're in your priority matrix, thank you so much for that question. That's great. Within a project, let's say my daily goals here, we'll use this as the example. Within every single action item, and this is something that I actually kind of brushed over. Side note, on Friday, I'm hosting an intro to Priority Matrix. So this might help you guys kind of understand more the foundations of PM. But on the right-hand side, you can add a link. You can link this to a website, a web page, anything that you want to kind of link here. You can definitely do that, or you can upload files as well. Upload as many files as you need to be relevant to this task. Hopefully that answers your question. Let's see. Anybody else have questions? Don't be shy. I have plenty of time to keep answering these for you all. Frankie, awesome. Frankie, what I'm going to do is, let's see. So I have now allowed your microphone. So now you can actually take yourself off mute and I should be able to hear you after that.
Great. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Great. Well, thank you so much for that little presentation. And I think you said earlier, look, I'm definitely new to Teams and we don't use it yet. We have a small team of 4, but I was wondering if we're all set up on this, can we see our individual priority and our tasks that we want to get done? Can I see somebody else's on my team?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that kind of leads into, looking at this more from a team aspect. So when it comes to sharing projects and sharing priorities, it sounds like you might be in kind of a management position trying to check in on making sure people are completing their tasks on time? Is that kind of where this question is coming from?
Just more of like scheduling if different things need to be going on.
Okay.
'Cause everyone's kind of wearing different hats, and so we just want to
Yeah,
make sure we're doing the right thing. So not just
absolutely.
prioritizing individually, but as a team as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that that would look is first and foremost, you would just share these projects with your teammates. This is the project for my daily goals. This might not actually be what you want to share with your teammates, but we'll just use that as an example. And as soon as you share a project with somebody, that gives them full access and visibility into these projects. So when I go to what's called our search view here, let's say you have 10 projects that you've shared with your teammates. So, all five of you are able to see what's going on, what is on each person's plate. When you go to the search view, and then maybe I want to see, hey, what is Bella working on? What does she have on her plate for the next couple of days? This would allow me to see every single action item that's assigned to her. And then we can also see those upcoming due dates. So it's a really powerful way to, again, make sure nobody's being overloaded, nothing's slipping through the cracks, and, just kind of helping people stay on task and get done what they need to work on.
Okay, great. Is there also like a little progress to, even if I'm just doing it myself and I have my daily tasks that I want to get done and they don't
Mhm.
get done on a specific date, can I go back and see, all right, these days I didn't do this?
Yeah, so to kind of that word that you used, which was a progress option, each item has the option to kind of update the progress. So what's really cool about this is I'll do it for two of these items here. If I go back to the search view here and I click on the filter option only assigned to myself, now I can see, make this a little bit bigger, all of my upcoming due dates and the progress completed. So maybe I look back and I'm like, okay, yesterday I was super close to completing this. I left it at 90%. You could then go back and, kind of tie up those loose ends that maybe you weren't able to finish the day before.
Hmm, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the question. Let's see. Perfect. Well, I think that that is going to do it for the questions, unless anything else comes up. But like I said, this is being recorded, so I'm going to send it out to all of you. I'm also going to include the link to review the interviews that Pablo did with the professionals we were working with. They provide a lot of insight if you need, any more guidance on kind of having a productive workday. With that all being said, the last thing I'm going to send you is a link to my upcoming webinars. If you want to learn just a little bit more about the foundation of Priority Matrix, be sure to join my intro webinar on Friday. And that's going to be a great place to learn just a little bit more. So thank you all for your time. I'm going to go ahead and end this recording. If you happen to have any questions